The Maldives is defined by the ocean, an archipelago of nearly 1,200 islands scattered across the equator. Yet, this idyllic geography conceals a profound structural dilemma. The nation's average elevation is less than 1.5 meters above mean sea level. This vulnerability dictates everything, forcing a demographic contraction unprecedented in modern history. For centuries, the Maldivian people lived in a distributed system. Population centers were small, linked by seafaring trade, with Malé existing primarily as a political and religious capital, a small administrative outpost. Before the disruptions of the late 20th century, Malé was a village by modern standards. In 1887, its population was barely 2,000 inhabitants. Even by 1967, shortly after independence, the resident population was just over 11,000, roughly 10% of the national total. Stability was maintained by a balanced, if limited, maritime economy. The system functioned by keeping the population decentralized and close to the traditional source of livelihood, fishing. The capital was necessary, but not dominant. This fragile order was sustained only until external market forces and strategic government decisions began to pull the entire nation toward a single, low-lying 2-square-kilometer island.
The existing order began to decay with the introduction of high-end tourism in the 1970s. This was not a gradual shift, it was a deliberate economic reorientation. The Maldivian government, recognizing the financial potential, pioneered the One Island, One Resort policy. Required specialized labor, imported goods, and highly centralized logistics, security, and administration. All of this infrastructure was concentrated in and around Malé. Under the presidency of Maumoon Abdul Gayoom, the economy transitioned from fishing to tourism. This was reinforced by systematic decisions that starved the outer atolls of investment. Essential services, advanced healthcare, higher education, high-paying administrative jobs were exclusively provided in the capital area. This established a continuous structural pull factor. Maldivian families migrated not simply for a better life, but for a possible future. They were drawn by opportunity and pushed by the deliberate neglect of their home islands. By the turn of the millennium, Malé's population was skyrocketing, resulting in density figures that began to defy urban planning norms.
The outcome of this phase is clear. The Republic of Maldives has structurally ceased to be an archipelago of dispersed communities. It is rapidly becoming the Greater Malé city-state. Nearly half the nation's population is now concentrated in this tight complex, a proportion projected to reach 2/3 within the decade. The centralization drive, born of economic ambition and enforced by climate necessity, has successfully built a protected urban core. But the core remains dependent on a periphery that is slowly disappearing. The unresolved paradox is economic viability. What happens when the revenue-generating resort islands, the nation's cash cow, become permanently uninsurable or submerged due to rising seas? The creation of Hul Malé, Gulhifalhu, and the connecting bridges represents a massive tactical success in survival and consolidation. Yet it also locks the nation into a high-cost, high-density model sustained by imported energy, making its long-term financial sustainability fragile. The story of Malé is the story of strategic retreat in the face of environmental collapse. It is a nation trading its geographic identity for survival, condensing centuries of dispersed habitation into a single, high-risk urban refuge. It is a transition where protection has been purchased at the price of extreme concentration. The political, social, and environmental consequences of this hypercentralization are only just beginning to materialize.